Before we start, I would like to give some few information that we'll be conducting webinars every day from today to next week, Friday. The first session will be starting at 11 and ending at 1 p.m. That is 11 a.m. ending at 1 p.m. Those are 2 hours. The second session will be at 2:15 ending at 4 p.m. And let me show you where you will be going to log in to register for the webinars. So you go to the EGP homepage. I hope my screen is visible. You go to the EGP homepage, and as you scroll to the right side, you see the tab that is news. You click on the news tab. It will populate something like this. You have 2 links that have been embedded in the document. You have link number 1 and then link number 2. You can be choosing which one to register in. Register, you give your details, and will have registered for the trainings for the day. Kindly note, we'll be having these trainings from today to next week, Friday, every day, apart from the public holidays. So Friday is a public holiday, so we'll not have that one. But as of next week, we'll have one session every day from Monday to Friday. That is, one session will be at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The second training will be 2:15 to 4 p.m. These trainings will include a number of documents in the tender documents. Today we are dealing with RFQ. Tomorrow we'll be dealing with open tender for goods, that is goods document number 4. So today we are dealing with request for quotation. Tomorrow we'll be dealing with open tender. So without much further ado, I propose we start the training for the day. As I said, today we are going to do an RFQ for various items. So this is the supplier who has logged in. My supplier is called Mabet Mamba Company Limited. So as we have been telling you in the... Okay. Kindly a minute. I hope my screen is now visible. So this is the EGP page for this supplier. This is the dashboard. And as you can see, we have the dashboard, the document library. I believe we have been taken through how we embed our document in the library. So every time you need to be bidding for a tender document, you don't need to be looking for them where you save them. You can just upload all your documents in the document library for easier reach when you're doing your bid submission. The second tab is for internal users. This is where the supplier or the owners of the organization or the directors can map their internal users in an organization. Let's say you have a manager who you want them to be responding to tenders as they come up. You've been mapping them in this tab of internal users. The fourth tab is the tenders, which is our interest for the day. So the tender button would look like that. So you click on it, and then you have a tab for such tenders. You have a tab for open tenders. You click on it. If they are open tenders, you can see them. And if you find one that you're interested in, you can be able to bid. But as I said, today we are dealing with the request for quotation. So request for quotation will be coming in the alternative tendering method. I repeat, the open tenders are the tenders that have been floated by procuring entities, and they are open for all suppliers to bid. But in this instance, our issue falls in request for quotation, you will always be finding request for quotation, alternative tender, that is the alternative tendering method. You will find request for quotation and restricted tendering in this tab. So I have opened the tab for alternative tendering method. So there's an active tender that has been floated. It gives the ID number, the tender reference number, the procuring entity, the procurement category, the procurement method, as I said, request for quotation. When this tender was advertised, it was advertised yesterday at 7:05 p.m. Start date was yesterday at 7:06 p.m. And the closing date will be on 14th October 2025 at 10 a.m. So what you will do is you first need to interact with this document. You need to understand the particulars of this document so that when you are bidding, you are bidding from an informed point of view. So the first thing you click on is you view the tender notice. So you click on the tender notice. It will give you the general details. That is the tender title, the procuring entity, the contact person. Normally, the contact person will be the head of procurement for that procuring entity, the procuring entity physical address, the postal code, the procurement category, in this case, it's goods, procurement method, request for quotation, the source of fund, it's the GOK, opening level, this is single. This is whereby during opening, all the bids for it's opened until the financial stage. Is it a sector specific buying? No. Is reservation applicable? No. Pre-bid meeting? Not applicable. Site visit? Not applicable. We normally have these two for open tenders. This is a simple quotation, so the site visit is not applicable. Bid validity period is 98 days. Then we have a section of tender submission. Bidding type, it's national bidding. Technical evaluation process, yes and no basis. Preference, it's not applicable. Is joint venture applicable? No. Is subcontracting applicable? Not applicable. Bid evaluation, the bid evaluation will be done item-wise. Tender security, it's applicable. Performance security, not applicable. And then we have the key dates regarding this request for quotation. The tender was advertised yesterday, that is 7th October 2025 at 7 p.m., 7:05 p.m. Pre-bid clarification, end date and time. It's today at 3 p.m. I will explain more on that pre-bid clarification as we progress. Tender submission start date was yesterday, 7th October 2025 at 7:06 p.m. The tender submission end date. This is very important because you need to know when the bid will be closed. This is 14th October at 10 a.m. Tender opening happens immediately after tender end submission date. So once you have familiarized yourself with the tender notice, you will go back. You'll go back to the home page. Now, you can download this document so that you can read this document outside the system. So once you click on download, you can download the document. So you can open. As you can see, I have opened my tender document. It has, it's divided into segments, that is bidding form, evaluation and qualification, mandatory evaluation requirement, schedule of requirement, instruction to tenderers, and all other information, as you can see. So once you familiarize yourself with this document, you can be able now to come and manage your document. I understand my screen is not visible from the other end. Just kindly allow me to do something very quick. I hope now it's visible. So we have viewed the tender notice and we have downloaded the document, and I want to assume at this point you have given yourself time to look through the tender document and see what this procuring entity intend to procure, what is the items that they need to procure. You can do your own research so that you know when you're submitting this document what kind of information you require, how much you need to bid, the technical requirement as required by the procuring entity. So once you're satisfied and you see that you're willing and you are capable of bidding in this tender, you will come to manage tender. You see the button here? You click on it. Once you click on it, it will open a page. The heading is manage title. And as we had seen, it's showing you the tender ID, the tender reference number, the procuring entity, the procurement method that is applicable, the tender notice type, bid, submission, end, date and time. Remember, those dates are very important because once the period ends, the system automatically closes and you cannot be able to submit your bid. And then we have the tender notice. On this page, you can still view the notice for the tender, and you can still also have an opportunity to download the document again. And at this point, I want to assume that when we downloaded the first instance, you have read through the document and you have understood what the procuring entity requires. So this our tender document is normally put into segments. So the first one is the terms and conditions. So you come and click on the terms and conditions. You open the tab for accept terms and conditions, and you read through the terms and conditions as they have been or populated. You will read through terms and condition number 1. We have read and understood all the conditions clauses mentioned in the tender document, including various documents forming part of the addendum issued subsequently, and confirm that our offer is in conformity with the same. We understand that it is not bound to accept the offer either in part or in full, and that our offer can be rejected in full or in part without assigning any reason whatsoever. We confirm that our details submitted as part of the response are true and correct to the best of our knowledge, and if proved otherwise, we can lead to rejection of our offer and forfeiture of the tender security deposit. So once you're comfortable with those terms and conditions and you feel you can abide to them, you click on I agree. So I'll click on I agree, and it says the terms and conditions accepted successfully. We have finished with the tab number 1. So we go to term number 2. Unfortunately, they have not been numbered, but as you can see, this one is the first tab. The second one is the pre-bid. So you click on the pre-bid, and the pre-bid is whereby by this time you have read the tender document, and if there's something that you are not sure about, or something that you would like the procuring entity to provide a clarification on, there's a query you need to raise, you come to the pre-bid and you click on post. I go back, so I open pre-bid. It says clarification. Then you need to, if you feel that there's something that is unclear about the tender document, so you can ask the procuring entity to provide a clarification. So you'll come and say post. It will open a tab. The tab is post queries. The tender summary is still displayed. And then you have a new dialog box that the clause number. Let's say, for example, you have an issue with the specification as they were given by the procuring entity. So for my instance, I want to say specifications. Remember, this can be anything that you're not clear about in the document. So what is my query? So I can type a query. So my query This tender is for supply and delivery of automobile or light truck tires. So they have given some specifications, and I want clarification on the same. So it reads, we would like to request clarification on the following specification in the tender document in respect to supply and delivery of automobile or light truck tire, 5 in number, and this is a specification 225/65 R17. Are the tubes required to be tubeless or tube type? That is my question. You can have any other question as a supplier. It does not mean that this is the one. You can also have a query on delivery. You can have a query on a mandatory requirement, all the different sections of the document. So once you type your query, you submit, you click on submit, and you can also, if you have more than one query, you see you can add a row and type the various queries as you need clarification on. So you can have as many queries as you want, so that you can, when you're filling this document, you are filling it from a point of knowledge, right? So if you have more than one, you can add a query, and you can also come and remove that query. So because my query is one, so I select this and I remove it. So I click on submit. Are you sure you want to submit the queries? On successful submitting the queries, you won't be able to update the submitted query. What this one says is once you click submit, you cannot come back and raise another query. So you really need to have read the document very well, understand the document very well. And if you have an issue on any part of the document, come and raise all the queries at once. Because as you have seen, it says you won't be able to update the submitted query. So you cannot, once you submit the queries, you cannot come back again and now do another query. So this time I'm going to say yes, I submit. As I wait for the procuring entity to respond to my question, I can still continue with the tender document, or I can still continue filling the tender document. So the third segment is the mandatory evaluation requirement. You click on it, it opens, it brings you mandatory evaluation requirement tab. You click on it again. And the heading is mandatory evaluation requirement. It still gives you the tender summary, the details. So the first thing you'll be required to do on the tender, on the self-declaration form, you have a number of columns. You have the serial number, mandatory evaluation requirement, reference document by officer, complied or not complied, is reference document required, and then the last column is upload a document. So on the first part, it's a self-declaration form, SD1, SD2. So what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to download this document. It has been embedded in the system. You download the document, print it, fill it, then you scan it, save it in your computer, and then you come and upload it. So for the self-declaration form, you're supposed to download it, print it, fill it, scan it, then upload it back to the system. So what you'll be doing is once you have downloaded this document and you have filled, you come and say on the column of compiled, not complied, as you can see, it has an asterisk. So every place that has a red asterisk, you're supposed to fill that field. So I'm going to say yes. And then I come to choose the document. As I remember, we have downloaded this, filled, and scanned it back. So I'll come and look for that document in my files. So I'll come, self-declaration, I attach it. The second document the procurement entity is requesting for is a valid task compliance certificate. So again, in the complied column, I come and say, yes, I have it. And then in the upload document, choose the file. I have my document, tax compliance certificate. I upload it. Once you're through with that row, come to the third row. Nationality, attach proof of citizenship and directors, shareholders. Proof of citizenship is normally an ID. So you come and say yes and upload your ID. Then you attach. The fourth item the procuring entity has requested for is attach CR12, not older than 6 months, or CR13 in case of sole proprietorship. So you come, you say, yes, I do have that document, and I upload it. The fifth item required by the procuring entity is a copy of the current business permit. If you have it, you'll come and say yes. And you come and attach the trade license. The final mandatory document requested by this procuring entity is a copy of certificate of incorporation / registration from the registrar of companies or business. So I say yes, I have it. And I choose the certificate of registration in my case, and I attach it. Let's say, for example, as you are attaching the document, you realize, like, let's say, for example, number 2, valid tax compliance. You have attached the wrong document. So you'll just come back here and attach the right document. So once you attach it again, it is going to disable the one that was there before. So let's say, for example, on a tax compliance, I came and attached a trade license. As you can see, it's once I hover over it, it tells me I have uploaded a trade license instead of a tax compliance certificate. So I can come back here, choose file, and I attach the right document, trade compliance certificate. You attach it. It now replaces the document that you had uploaded in the wrong place. So once you have satisfied you have attached the correct document, you will come here and say submit. If, for instance, you have uploaded a document, but here on the compiled, not compiled, you click no, that document, when the procuring entity will be doing evaluation, you'll be deemed to be unresponsive. Even if you have attached the right document, but you have said, I have not compiled with, the system will flag you as non-responsive. So kindly be keen as you're filling this column, say yes, and then ensure that you have uploaded the correct document. So once you're satisfied with that, you're going to click submit. Okay, we move on. As we read in our tender notice, let's view the tender notice again. This procuring entity had said the tender security is applicable. You remember that? Tender document fees and tender security. The procuring entity had said it is applicable. So let's go back so that we can be able to process the tender security. So on the tender security, in the EGP, we will no longer be accepting physical tender security as we were doing previously. So the tender security is going to be processed in the system. The banks have been linked, the insurance have been linked, and they have been trained on how to process tender security in the system. So for you, you'll be coming to the system on the tab of tender security. Select the items you want, select the items for the tender security. Maybe this quotation is for more than one item. And you feel that you want to participate in the 2 items. So you'll click on the 2 items. In my instance, I can select printing paper. And the second one is automobile or right track tires. I select one. But if you only want to participate in one, you will only process tender security for one item. I repeat, if more this request for quotation or even open tender, they have a number of items. You only select the items you want to participate in to process that tender. You do not process for all of them. So you have an opportunity. If you say, let's say, for example, I want only to participate in printing papers, I will only click the tab for printing papers. If I want to only bid for the tires, I'll only select the tab for tires. So in my instance, I want to participate in both. So I'm going to select the 2 items. Kindly remember, if a procuring entity has said tender security is applicable and you only select one item, you will not be able to do tender submission for both. You will not be able to quote for 2 items. You will only be able to bid for the items that you have selected the tender security for. So I click yes, I click both of them. And at item summary, it will tell me I have selected 2 items and the tender amount, because as you can see, the tender amount, security amount for each item has been put by the procuring entity. So for printing papers, they required a tender security of 500. And for the automobile light truck tires, they required a tender security amount of 800. So if I select both of them, the system automatically add 500 plus 800, and it gives me a total of 1,300. So if I'm okay with that, I click submit. Once you submit the tender security, you will not be able to modify the items. Are you sure you want to proceed? So kindly be taking your time to fill this document. So I'm going to click yes. Item successfully selected. Once they have been selected, you need to select your bank. So the financial institution, there's a drop-down button, as you can see. So I click on it. All the banks will populate, all the banks that have been registered have been licensed by Central Bank of Kenya. Also all the insurance that have been registered and also have been given the go-ahead by PPRA to issue tender security. So I'm going to select on my banks. But the banks are here, all the insurance. As you can see, the drop-down button has a number of banks and insurance firms that are authorized to provide tender security. So in this instance, I'm going to select my bank. That is the bank I have a relationship with. So for my case, I'm going to go with Absa Bank. As you all know, banks have branches. So which branch am I a customer in? My bank is Queensway branch. The tender security, remember the system already did for you the calculation on the tender security amount. Of course, the currency, operating currency is the Kenya shillings. And then you're supposed to give a remark. So a remark can be, let's say, for example, my statement is, we kindly request your institution to issue a bid security in favor of Anti-Counterfeit Authority of Kenya shillings 1,300 as required under tender number. You give the tender number for supply and delivery of assorted items. So the validity, as it was 190, I think it was 97, 98. So I have added the days I require the bid validity period, and I say submit. I hope we are comfortable. We have all understood that that part. Kindly, if you have questions, you can ask the questions in the chat box, and our officers are responding to the questions. So you can ask them for a clarification on any stage that we are doing. So once I'm satisfied, I've input the correct thing, I'm going to say submit. We have our bank. We have chosen our bank, the branch, the tender security, the currency, and the remarks, and then the validity in days. And you remember I said any part that has a red asterisk, it's a must. You must fill that, that field. So I'm going to submit. Are you sure you want to upload the tender security details? I click yes. So that request has gone to my bank, and I want to believe that you'll be communicating with your relationship manager so that they can process the tender security for you. So as we wait for the tender to be processed, we go back to the system. We have done the terms and conditions. We have also done pre-bid mandatory evaluation requirement. We have processed the tender security. And then now we are at bid preparation. So we have finished on the tender security, the bid preparation. I click on the bid preparation. Here it populates a number of fields, and we are going to spend a little bit of time here filling all these requirements. Anywhere that it says fill the action, you have the serial number, the form name, action, status, and reference document. This is the non-financial forms. So the first form is the form of tender. Click the form of tender. It has the field bidding form, that is the title of this form. As you can see, the tender details are still populated on top here for ease of reference. The form name is the form of tender. So you're supposed to fill on this form of tender. So the first thing it requires us to fill is the date of quotation. Today is 8th October 2025. Tender description. You scroll on top, and the tender description is here. Tender title, that's the tender description. So you copy it as it is, and you paste it on the tab for tender description. Tender reference number, you'll find it on the tender detail, the tender reference number. So you copy the reference number and you paste it here on this field. Okay. So you read on the tender declaration, there are a number of statements as you can see. So the first one is no reservation. We have examined the request for quotation document and have no reservation and understand its fully context and intent. Eligibility. We confirm that we are eligible to participate in public procurement and meet the eligibility criteria specified in Part 1 of the instruction to tenderers. Remember, we said before you start filling these tenders, before you start managing the tender, you have to download the document and read all the instructions. So at this point, I'm assuming you have read through the document and we have understood. So when I'm talking about Part 5 instruction to tenderers, we all know what we are filling in. Conformity. We offer to supply in conformity with C tendering document and in accordance with the delivery schedule specified in the schedule of requirement and technical specification. Again, I'm assuming you have already read the document and we all understand all this, the various requirements as per the tender document. Code of conduct. We declare that we have read and understood the content of the code of conduct for persons participating in the public procurement and asset disposal, and our responsibility under the code, and we commit to abide to the provision of the Code of Ethics, copy available at the website of the PPRA during the procurement process and execution of any resulting contract. Because I believe we all participate in a tender in the hope that we are going to, the final result will be issued with a contract to perform. Price validity. We confirm that the prices quoted are fixed and firm for the duration of the validity period and performance of the contract, and will not be subject to revision or variation. Validity period. Our quotation will be valid for the period specified in ITT2 as amended if applicable, and shall remain binding upon us and may be accepted at any time before the expiration of that period. One quotation per tenderer is another statement. We confirm that we are not submitting any other quotation as an individual or firm, and we are not participating in other quotation as a joint venture member or as a subcontractor. The other statement is talking about suspension and debarment. We, along with any of our subcontractor, suppliers, engineers, manufacturer, or service provider, or any part of the contract, are not subject to and not controlled by any entity or individual that is subject to temporary suspension or debarment imposed by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority or any entity of the Government of Kenya or any international organization. This other statement, it's talking about fraud and corruption. We hereby clarify that we have taken steps to ensure that no person acting for us or on our behalf engages in any type of fraud or corruption. Further, we confirm that we have read and understood the full content and the scope of the fraud and corruption as formed in Appendix 1, Fraud and Corruption. Again, remember we said you have to download the document and fully understand all the sections. The other statement is talking about anti-competitive and collusion practice. We hereby certify and confirm that the tender is genuine, not collusive, and made with the intention of accepting the contract if awarded. We have arrived at the tender independently without consultation, communication, agreement, or arrangement with any competitor on, but not limited to, prices, method, factors, or formulas used to calculate the prices, the intention of all decision to submit or not to submit a tenderer, or the submission of a tender which does not meet the specification of the request for tender expert as disclosed in the tenderer eligibility. Confidentiality business questionnaire. The other part is talking about business ownership information. We commit to provide to the procuring entity the beneficial ownership information in conformity with the beneficial ownership disclosure form upon receipt of notification of intention to enter into a contract in the event that we are successful in the subject procurement proceeding. The last statement, we, the tenderer, have completed fully and signed the form of disclosure of interest in the firm akin to the procuring entity attached below. So the total price of our tender, including any discount offered, is as follows. So remember our tender had 2 items. We had the first one was the printing paper, and the other one was the automobile or right track tires. So at this training, we are in the training environment. The items are not populating in the item description, as you can see. But in the live environment, once you bidding for items, the item description will be displayed and the quantity. So for you, it will be, you'll be giving us the unit price as you intend to bid for that item to the procuring entity. So for instance, my first item was printing papers. So I can come here and say, for 1 ream of printing papers, I'm offering 900 shillings. The currency is Kenya shillings. And then applicable taxes. In the Kenyan government, we have our applicable taxes is 16%. So what we'll do is I'm going to do a calculation of 900 times 16%, right? So it's giving me 144 shillings, and I leave it at that. So for this instance, I'm going to leave it like that, because the other part are supposed to self-populate, because they are supposed to do the calculation. So I'm going to add for the second column that, remember, we had 2 items. So my second item was for tires. I have read the specification. I know what kind of tire they want. This procuring entity was looking for tire 225/65 L17. Remember, as a supplier, I'm supposed to have read all through the document, and I fully understand what a procuring entity intends to buy. So for this tire, for me, I feel as if 28,000 would be a fair price. Again, I type Kenya shillings. I'm going to copy the capacity building revenue. And then I do a calculation of 16% for this particular item. So it's 28,000 times 16%. That's giving me 4,480 shillings. So for this part, it's true, but as I said, in the live environment, the item description and the quantity will be displayed. And the system will also do a calculation for capacity building levy and the total tender sum. So after that, I'll move to commissions and gratuities. If you are giving commissions, you type the name of the recipient you're giving that gratuity to, the address, the reason as to why, and the amount. For me, I am not giving any commissions or gratuities, so I'm going to leave it blank. The other section is it's talking about state-owned enterprises. The first statement is, we are a state-owned enterprise or institution, but meet the following requirements: legal and financial autonomy, operation under commercial law, and we are not under the supervision of the procuring entity. So for this instance, I'm going to say no, we are not. This supplier is not controlled by any state. This is a private company. But if anyone here is logged in and you work for, let's say, for example, you work for Kenya Airways, you work for Kenya School of Government, those are state institution. So for them, they'll say yes. But in my instance, I'm a private company, so my response will be no. The second statement is, we are not a state-owned enterprise or institution. So as I said, this is a private company, so I'm going to say yes, we are not a state-owned enterprise. After that, we move to confirmation and certification. The statement reads, we confirm that the information provided above is correct, and we understand that giving false information will lead to disqualification of our tender. So for me, my response is yes. And then me who is filling this document, the person now, not the name of the company. I'm going to, this is the director of the company. So I'm going to type my name, Jane Juma. The second part is my title or designation in this company. I'm a director. And the date when I'm filling this form. The date has been embedded in the document. So you just click on the icon for the date, for the calendar, as you can see. I click on it, it opens the calendar, and I choose my date when I'm responding to this tender. So I click on 8th October 2025. You click outside. As you can see, the date has populated, and I say submit. I go back to the tender document again. I remember I said we are going to spend a little bit of time in this tab of bid preparation. So I click on it, I open. As you can see, on the form of tender, since we filled it, you can now view what we filled. This is everything that we have been able to input few minutes. These are the details all the way down. And in the process, as you're looking at it, if you feel as if there's something that you have omitted or you have input in the wrong way, you come back to bid preparation and you can edit. You can edit this document. You can also delete the form of tender, and you can also upload a document. I go, once I'm satisfied, I have filled in that, and the status has changed from pending to filled. The second tab is tenderers information and business questionnaire. So you click on fill in the action tab. So you start on top. You read all the information. The form is called tenderers information and business questionnaire. The tenderer detail. So the tenderer name is the name of the firm. Limited, that's the name of the firm. Tenderer actual or intended country of registration. This company is registered in Kenya. When was it registered? The tenderer year of registration. Depending on your certificate of registration, when you did the registration, you input that date. So for me, I'm going to say 2015. Tenderer legal address in country of registration. So I come and say Westlands, Kenya. Tenderer authorized representative information name. Again, remember, Jane, the director, is the one who is filling this form. So I'm going to put my name here, Jane Juma. Address 100/002-300. That's the address of my organization. It's in, sorry. Let's go back. I apologize for that. I go back to the business questionnaire. So we click on edit. It's submitted itself by mistake. So I address the telephone number. This is the telephone number of the company. So I'm going to say 011. I give the phone number and the email address of the organization, info@mambopet.com. You give in your email address. So I continue. If you are a sole proprietor, you provide your details on this tab. If you are a partner, you provide the details of the partnership here. Let's say you have more than, of course, a partnership has more than one person. So if you are two, you'll fill in, let's say, for example, James. Nationality is a Kenyan, I assume. Citizenship is a Kenyan. Percentage of share owned, let's say 50%. Now, remember, a partnership has two people, right? So you will be required to add a row, as you can see, add a row, and input the name of the second partner, Peter. He's also Kenyan. And he owns 50%. Remember, it doesn't have to be like this. This will depend on how your organization is structured. So, but in my instance, I'm not a partnership, so I'm going to delete this information. I just wanted to demonstrate, in case you are a partner, how you'll be filling the details and how to add the row for the various, for the other partner. So I'm going to delete this row. Registered company, are you registered? Is it a public or is it private? I believe we all know the difference between a public company and a private company. In my instance, this is a private company. State the nominal or issued capital of the company. So for the nominal, I'm going to say, let's say, for example, 5 million. But what have I issued? The issued capital is 3 million. Remember, this is just purely how your organization is structured. It doesn't have to be like this. So my company has a nominal capital of 5 million, but we have issued 3 million. The last part, no, not the last part, the other details is you give in the details of the directors. So the name of the director is Jane Juma. The nationality is Kenya. Citizenship is also Kenyan. Percentage owned is 100%. Disclosure of interest. You know, we are required to disclose interest in, if we have any, in that procuring company. Let's say, for example, in this instance, Jane, who is the director of this company. Let's say, for example, the sister works in that procuring entity. So you're supposed to give out the details of your sister as they work in that organization. So we can say, my sister is called Grace Juma. What is her designation in that procuring entity? Let's say she's a manager in the sales department. I type in her designation. And then the interest or the relationship with the tenderer. We said she's my sister. And we have declared our interest. So in this instance, this was just for demonstration purpose. So I'm going to remove, because I have this company has no relationship with anyone that works in this organization. Then it brings you to a tab of conflict of interest, disclosure. So you're going to be reading the statement and answer and respond appropriately. So the first statement is tenderer is directly or indirectly controlled by or is under common control with another tenderer. What is your response? It can be either yes or no. If you say yes, you're supposed to provide the details of the relationship with that tenderer. Let's say, for example, MamboBet has a relationship with another tenderer, still participating in this tender. So I'll come and say, I provide the details of that other supplier. So I say, I give the name of that company. But if you are working independently, you click on the tender response is no. If you say yes, you're required to provide the details of the relationship with that tenderer. So in that, my first statement, my response is no, I'm working independently. The second statement is tenderer receives or has received any direct or indirect subsidy from another tenderer. I repeat, tenderer receives or has received any direct or indirect subsidy from another tenderer. I come and say, no. If I say yes, I'm supposed to provide the relationship, give the details of that tenderer and their names. tenderer has the same legal representative as another tenderer. Let's say, for example, if our lawyers are the same, if I say yes, I'm supposed to provide the details of that legal representative. So in this case, I'm going to say also no. Tenderer has a relationship with another tenderer directly or through common third parties that put it in a position to influence the tenderer of another tenderer or influence the decision of the procuring entity regarding this tenderer. Kindly understand the statement as you feel and answer appropriately. In this case, I'm going to select no. Any of the tenderer affiliates participated as a consultant in the preparation of the design or technical specification of the works that are the subject of the tender. In my case, no. Tenderer has a close business or family relationship with the staff of the procuring entity. Remember when I talked about a sister or a husband, a brother, a son, a daughter, mother, father, you had input in this column. So if it was, you did not declare you have an relationship with any of the employee of that entity, you come and say no. If you had indicated on top there that you have a relationship with any employee of a procuring entity, you'll say yes and provide information. So in my instance, I'm going to say no. The last statement is, has conflict stemming from such a relationship stated in item 6 above been resolved in a manner acceptable to the procuring entity throughout the tendering process and execution? Since I have no relationship, so automatically my answer is no. So once I'm through with that part, there's the signing off. Remember, you're supposed to fill and sign this document so that you read the statement. We'll confirm that the information given above is correct, and we understand that giving false information will lead to disqualification of our tender. So for that says we understand, so we say yes. And then you give the name of the person who is filling the tender document. This is Jane Juma. Destination, she's a director. And then the date. Can say today. Remember, you can prepare this document in a number of days. You don't have to sit down and do everything at once. So the other part is the bid preparation, the schedule of requirement. So I click, I open it. So we are filling the bidding form. The first table is table A, schedule of requirement. It has the serial number, the UNSP item code, the UNSP item description, description of goods, unit of issue, the quantity, earliest delivery date, latest delivery date. The procuring entities have given you this date, that's the earliest delivery date and the latest delivery date, when they expect to have these items at their stores. So you as the supplier you'll be given the date that you are comfortable with. Bearing in mind, you have to look at the dates where the procuring entities have said they would really want their items to be delivered between these dates. That is 4th November 2025 and 7th November 2025. Is you as a procuring entity, you are the one who knows if you are given this contract, how soon can you deliver, bearing in mind the dates that have been given out by the procuring entity. So you click on the date, you select a date that you feel you are comfortable with. The procuring entities have given you the dates between 4th and 7th. So you can also come and pick a date even later, because remember, you are talking about when you can be able to deliver these goods. please do not overstretch yourself and give dates that you cannot be able to conform to. So in my instance, I'm going to say I can deliver on 6th November 2025. So once you're done with that, you move on to the second one, the schedule of requirement. It also has the same field, the serial number, item code, item description, description of goods, unit of issue, quantity, and then the technical specifications. For this, the first item was print copier paper. So they have given the specification. The first specification is the size. They want it in A4. The weight is 80 GSM. And then the color is white. On the last column is conformity with technical specification. Are you, as a supplier, conforming to this technical specification as given by the procuring entity? So you click on the drop-down button and you say yes or no, depending on how, if your items do not meet this criteria as given out by the procuring entity, you'll say no. If they meet the criteria, you'll say yes. So in my instance, I'm going to say yes. So I'm done with the printing paper. Remember, this quotation had more than one item, and I said I'm going to bid for both of them. So the third table is the technical specification for automobile or light truck tires. As you can see, the technical specification is the width is 225. The aspect ratio is 65% of the width. The third specification is radial construction is R, that is R, 17-inch rim. The diameter is load index and speed rating 1042 H. The fifth technical specification, the procuring entity is requesting the supplier to attach a brochure that is legible with highlighted specification. You're supposed to upload a brochure showing the technical specification that has been highlighted. So if I conform to that specification, I'm going to say yes. Then I move to the schedule of requirement for the second item, that is the truck, the tires. It also has the earliest delivery date and the latest delivery date. So me as a supplier, I'm going to select the dates when I feel that I am comfortable delivering and I can be able to deliver after I've been given a contract. So I'm going to say 12. Maybe I'm importing these goods and they will have landed by that date, or I can be able to deliver those items on that particular date. So once you're comfortable with that, you can say submit. Remember, the schedule of requirement, the procuring entity has requested you to upload a brochure highlighting the specifications as they have requested. So you'll come to upload document. Once you have filled the form, you'll come to upload a document. You upload the document. It will bring you to this section of uploading the document. You see the upload tab. You'll click on the upload tab. It will give you a field where you are supposed to attach the brochure. So you'll choose a file. You'll go back to where you have saved your document, look for the brochure, attach it, and give it a description, that is brochure. Sorry, the spelling is wrong. Brochures for tires. And then you say upload. Once you have uploaded it successfully, you go back. You see on the reference document, we have a document. You can display it. Once you click on display, you can see the brochure for tires and you can download that document. So the procuring entity on its end will be able to have this brochure as you have uploaded it. If you need to upload another document, let's say, for example, the tires were different sizes, you can come back and upload a document. Let's say, for example, I'll now want to, let's say, for instance, the tires were more than one size. I'll come upload the second brochure and say brochure 4. A second maybe type of tire that the procuring entity had requested. So the system does not limit you to just one document. You can upload as many documents to support your bid submission. So if I go back, the bid submission, and I click on display, I have more than one brochure. So kindly note, the system allows you to attach as many documents as you want so that you can support your bid submission. The fourth segment to fill is the foreign tender 40% rule. You open. As you had seen when we were filling the questionnaire, this firm is registered in Kenya. So the foreign tenderer rule 40% does not apply. But if you are a foreigner who is doing bid submission, you will be required to fill these forms as we were doing in the manual system. But for you who is registered in Kenya, you do not need to fill the form for 40% rule. This does not apply to the local companies or the local suppliers. So in this instance, you just say submit. This does not apply to you, you will not fill it. But if you are a foreigner, you'll be required to give all the details. I go back to the bid preparation form. As you can see, it has recognized that we have filled, although we did not write anything here because the 40% rule does not apply to the local companies. So the fifth part is the evaluation criteria. So you click on fill. As you can see, all the other fields, the status become filled, and the ones that we are yet to fill are still pending. I want to go back. Okay, it's okay. The evaluation criteria. So fill. The first evaluation criteria is for the printing papers. The weight is 80 GSM. So the bidder's response is yes. And you say specification met. The size A4. You select your response is specification met also. The fourth evaluation criteria was on color. They require white, and then you say specification met. The second evaluation criteria is for tires. They require, the first evaluation criteria is width, 225 mm. Bidder's response, yes. And we say specification met. The aspect ratio was the second evaluation criteria for tires. That is 65% of the width. As a supplier, you say yes. And the specification have been met or not met. Radial construction, 17 inch rim diameter. I say yes. Remember, this is being supported by the brochure that you attached. say yes, and specification met. So once you're satisfied by filling the evaluation criteria as requested by the procuring entity, you're going to submit. And also, you can support this by also uploading the schedule of requirement as the procuring entity had given. Remember, we downloaded this document, so we have the schedule of requirement. So we upload, you choose schedule of requirement. So R, upload. I can also come again and upload a brochure, even if I had uploaded it before. So this will enable the evaluation committee be able to evaluate me with the brochures that I've given. So I can come back and say upload brochure. And upload. So I go back. I go to the bid preparation. All the fields in the non-financial form, the status has been filled. So we are left with the price bid, price schedule form. Kindly know that you will not be able to fill the price bid form until you process the tender security. Remember, we had a tender security issue that was pending. So I'll come to the tender security. By now, my bank has already processed my tender. Remember, you communicate with your bank offline so that they know that your bid security is pending in their system. So once you come to the tender security, you can view the tender security issuance request as you gave it to the bank. You had requested for 1,300 tender security amount. There is the remarks that you had gave. Who requested the tender security, the dates. So I remember for you, you have to accept the conditions that are between you and your bank. So you have to process the tender security. You see the button for tender security. The first one was for view tender security request. The second one is to view, is to process the tender security details. You click on it. It has the request number. As the first time you did the request, this was a reference the EGP system gave your tender security request to your bank. So what is the action? You can accept and say remarks accepted. At this point, you have already negotiated with your relationship manager and agreed on how much you'll be paying the bank once they have issued you with tender security. Once you click submit, the relationship manager will initiate the withdrawal of what you had agreed with the bank from your account, because I believe you ask for tender security to a bank where you bank with them. You have a relationship with them, so they know you. So they'll deduct that money from your account to pay that tender security. So once you have clicked accept, the system will trigger withdrawal of funds, what you have agreed with the branch or your relationship manager, to payment of that tender security. At this point, you can still withdraw the tender security request and it will be processed by the bank. You'll inform your relationship manager that you need to withdraw the request and you can channel the request to another bank. So at this point, we are through with the tender security. We go back to the bid preparation. And now you can be able to fill the price schedule form. So you click on the fill. So this is the price schedule. So what is the amount of money I want to sell my printing papers at? I say 900. So it takes column 5 and column 6 to give the total price exclusive of taxes and levies. That is column 5 times column 6. It has multiplied 900 times the quantity, that is 10, to give me a total price of 9,000. It has also done the capacity building calculation. Remember, this is 0.003 times the total price. It gives me 2.699. Total taxes. Remember, we did a calculation of 16% of 900. It gives us a total of 144. And the system now calculates the total tender price that will be given these items at. The second item is automobile. And the technical specification for that was 225/65 R17. So for me, I feel as if I want to sell my my tire as 28,000. It does the calculation. It's 28,000 times 5. And then I do the 16% that is applicable in the Kenyan tax. So it's 16%. It gives me 4,480. And now it calculates for me the total tender price as I want to. This is the amount that I am willing to sell to these items. So once you are through with filling in the tender, the price schedule form for all the items, you say submit. The bid form has been submitted successfully. So you go back to the bid form, and as you can see, all the tabs have been filled. The status have been filled, and where a reference document was required, we have already attached a reference document. So the final thing to do is to final submission. You click on final submission. Once you click on final submission, it will give you a brief view of everything that you have filled. Everything you have filled. Once you're comfortable, sorry, it has gone back. Final submission. I click on final submission. It will give me an OTP. I type on we'll be receiving our OTPs in our email, the emails we gave when we were registering our company in the EGP system, and also on the phone numbers as we gave them out. Remember, when you are registering your company, you did indicate your phone number, the primary phone number. This is where the OTP will be sent to. So I'm going to input my OTP and click verify. So bids submitted successfully on the IP address, that number. Once you have done the bid submission, and maybe you sit on it and you feel you left out a very crucial element as you are doing your bid submission, you can come back to final submission and do a bid withdrawal. Once you withdraw your bid, you can be able to work on that bid again. Let's say, for example, I withdraw a bid. You do give a reason. Maybe I omitted or I forgot to attach a reference document as requested. You submit. Are you sure you want to withdraw your bid? You'll get that question. You can say yes. And now that will give you an opportunity again to now have your document and work on where you feel you are not comfortable with. You can add a document, you can edit the document, you can delete a reference document if you realized you had attached the wrong document. You can come change your mandatory. It gives you an opportunity to look at your document again. And once you are satisfied that everything is now okay, you can do a final submission. And the details, remember we did a bid submission. It gives you the history, the bid submission. We did the first final submission, we did it at 12:35, and 1 minute later, we withdrew our bid. So if we click on final submission, again, we are required to input OTP. So as I wait for my OTP, I type, as I wait, it will be on phone, as I said, or in your email, and it will be, give my OTP, and then I verify, and it says I have been able to submit the bid successfully. So if I go back to my final submission, it's giving you a history. So once I'm satisfied, I have bidded the document, it's now with the procuring entity. The next part is the bid opening and the bid evaluation. The last two tabs, you are going to be informed once the bid has been opened by that procuring entity. A communication will be sent to you in the bid opening section. And once the evaluation has done, you'll be alerted so that if you are successful, will be required now to undertake the contract management exercise, which we are going to have a training on early next week on contract management. And so I'm going to look at, I hope we are able now to prepare our request for quotation, and we still continue to handle our your questions on bid submit, on how to prepare the request for quotation and the final submission. So for that marks the end of our presentation, and now we'll be able to be handling your question. On the tender security, is the tender security applicable for RFQ? No, but that was just for demonstration purposes on how you'll be processing tender security on the other document. This was just a learning process. RFQ do not require tender security. We did that for demonstration purposes. If you are not able to see a tender in the alternative tendering method in your EGP platform, that means no quotation has been sent to you by any procuring entity. Remember, you have to be mapped in a RFQ for you to, or a restricted tender, for you to be able to have access in a for tenders in the alternative tendering method. On the issue of registration, if you still have a problem with registering your company until now, kindly visit our office at Kisim Towers, Ngong Road, 4th floor for assistance. If you still have a problem with registering your company in the EGP platform, kindly visit our office at Kisim Towers, Ngong Road, 4th floor for assistance. I did demonstrate how you can delete a document if you attach the wrong document in the bid forms. Yes, we are on YouTube, and we are going to share our YouTube names so that you can visit and learn more on brief preparation. Just give us a minute. I'll be able to pull in the title of that, the name of our YouTube channel. Is the single business permit a must? If a procuring entity has requested you attach a business permit in the mandatory requirement, then it's a must for you to attach it. On the YouTube channel, just go to the YouTube and search EGP Kenya. You'll see a number of our videos where we have explained various ways of interacting with the EGP system. And if you have any query, kindly you can visit our office. You can also write us emails, and we'll be able to respond. Is CR12 mandatory for a sole proprietor? No. For a sole proprietor, we'll need you to attach a CR13. That is what it's called. You can withdraw your bid as many times as possible until you're comfortable to do a final bid submission. Yes, in the afternoon, we are still going to handle the training on RFQ, and then tomorrow we'll do a training on open tender. If you have registered your company in the EGP platform and they are yet to be approved, kindly be a little bit patient. We are working on it, and very soon your companies will be approved. As I said, if you have a problem with registration, you can visit our office. And if you have a problem with keying your IFMIS number, kindly visit the National Treasury, Harambee Avenue, 5th floor. That is where the IFMIS department is located, and they'll be able to assist you. How will you know the tender has been approved? I remember I said you have to be in communication with your relationship manager so that once they approve, you'll be able to process the tender security at your end. Mhm. If you have a problem, if you still have a problem with your KRA PIN, kindly visit the nearest KRA office where you're located so that they can be able to enable you sort out what's the problem, and you can be able to register your company in the EGP system. Yes, the tender forms are filled online, so we will no longer be required to print, sign, stamp. The only thing that will be required to download, fill, and upload again is the SD1 and SD2, as I demonstrated. Kindly have some patience. We are still doing the approval in the EGP system for the suppliers. By the end of the week, we can promise you that 90% of them will be approved. So we request for your patience, because we are really working very hard to have all suppliers approved in the EGP system. For the youth group, if you are registered as a youth group and you are registered by the Register of Companies, you should have a BRS number. And for the AGPO group, remember, we are really following up on the presidential directive about enabling our AGPO group to participate in the procurement opportunities. So kindly register in large numbers, and entities, for those who have registered and for those who are willing to work, the opportunities will be immense. So kindly just follow up with the BRS office to find out what is your BRS number, which should be indicated in your registration of certificate. Yes, for RFQ, you must be mapped by procuring entity for you to participate in that RFQ. So yes, for RFQ, the supplier, you need to be mapped. So anytime suppliers are requesting you to do pre-qualification, kindly be participating in that exercise, because that is how they'll be able to have your name so that they can map you to the RFQ as they become available in the organization. Unfortunately, your company has to be approved in the EGP system for you to participate in the tenders in the EGP system. For how does my EGP portal show 13 tender, yet there are 54 advertised tenders? How does my EGP system show 13? Unfortunately, you cannot upload a hard copy tender security. If your bank delays in issuing the tender security, that's why we advise you to start download the document, read it first, and once you see the tender that you're willing to participate requires a tender security, kindly visit your bank or your insurance firm early in advance so that they can be able to process this tender security in good time, so that it does not disadvantage you when the bid time is almost over and the tender security is yet to be published. If a tender is open, all categories of bidders are eligible to participate in that tender. You do not have, it does not have to say ACPO, it does not have to say youth or women or person with a disability. If it's an open tender, everyone can and is encouraged to participate. Yes. It's 16%. Okay. On the issue of VAT, remember we are charged 16% on the VAT, right? So, and we quote our items, we have to give the applicable taxes. So if, for example, I'm quoting an item for, let's say, 1,000, there's a column on the price bid form where you're supposed to put applicable taxes. So you do calculate 16% of the amount that you're bidding, and you input that absolute amount. You do not put 16%. You'll have to calculate the absolute amount. For the bid board agents, if they're banks or insurance, you can always contact them to provide you with a bid board. If it's an agent, if you deal with agents, the EGP system is working directly with the banks and the insurance. How will pre-qualification be done under EGP? That the procuring entity will request for submission of forms. They'll input a pre-qualification tender document where you'll be required to fill just as you are doing the bid submission. It's just as simple as we did the request for quotation. It has steps by steps on how you're supposed to submit your details to an organization for you to be pre-qualified, and so that you can be able to be mapped to their RFQs as they come up. I said on the issues of KRA PIN, before you visit the KISIM towers, kindly visit the KRA office so that they can be able to verify your PIN. On the issue of KRA PIN, kindly visit the KRA office that is near you so that they can be able to sort you out, and you can be able to proceed registering your company in the EGP system. If your AGPO certificate is not verified, kindly visit our office at the National Treasury, Harambee Avenue, that is on 5th floor. They'll be able to assist you with the AGPO certificate number. The procurement plans have prices as estimated costs. On the number of banks that have been onboarded on the EGP system, I cannot be able to give you the right number because the registration is still happening. But before you request a bank for a bid board, kindly have a communication with your relationship manager so that they can inform you if they have been registered in the EGP system. I'm going to show you where you'll find you go to find the tender security. So I'm displaying the dashboard of this company. The tender security, the tender open tenders would be. Let me collapse this and open again. You'll come to tenders. For open tenders, you'll click and you'll see all the active open tenders have been advertised by all procuring entities. These are all open tenders. As you can see, the procurement method is open. But on alternative tendering method, you will find the tenders that you as a supplier have been mapped to. Remember, if a procuring entity has not mapped a request for quotation to your organization, you will not be able to find anything. On the alternative tendering method, if you have not been mapped to a request for quotation or the other alternative, that is restricted tender, you will not be able to find anything on your tab. No, you do not need to be registered in the IFMIS if you are not in the Apple group. No, you do not need. It's not a must for you to be registered in IFMIS. Oh, sorry. On the IFMIS, I apologize. You have to be registered because this is the IFMIS will be used to do the payment during the contract management. Apologies, IFMIS will be used for payment, so you have to be registered with IFMIS. If your bank is not registered in the EGP system, kindly note you will not be able to process the tender security using that particular bank. So for that one, I think you'll need to have another relationship with another bank who can be able to be processing for you the tender security. If you have registered your company and you cannot be able to remember your user login ID, kindly start the process afresh, input a new login name and a new password so that you can start the process of registration again. If the username cannot be found, that means you did not complete your profile submission. On the issue of you not being able to use your KRA PIN to register another company, kindly be a little patient. We have communicated the same to KRA and we are working to resolve that issue. So kindly be a little bit patient. Is IFMIS a requirement? Yes, it is a requirement since the payment will be done at the IFMIS platform. Yes, for the documents to be satisfied, yes, you have to print them, have them satisfied, and then scan them again, and so that you can be able to upload them. Yes, we'll be doing framework agreements in the EGP system. Page numbering will no longer be a requirement since this is a fully electronic system. So you do not need to number your to do serialization. We'll be doing the training for goods open tender tomorrow. We'll have 2 sessions. The first session will start at 11 a.m. and end at 1 p.m. The second session will start at 2:15 p.m. and end at 4 p.m. No, our framework agreement will not be a direct procurement. No, since this is an electronic procurement process, we'll no longer be required to purchase tender documents. Okay. We have a training that will be starting at 2:15 p.m., still on the request for quotation. Again, I want you to remind you that you can make use of the links at the EGP homepage. In the News tab, you'll go to the News tab. Just a minute. I understand my screen has frozen. Let me restart it again. So if you go to the EGP homepage, there's a tab for news. As you can see, I'm hovering above it, the news. Once you click on that tab, it will populate two links. We have link 1 and the 2. And you have seen we have indicated that we'll be having training from today to Friday next week, every day. So you can register, you can choose which link to register on, so that we can be able to be, for you to participate in the trainings. Kindly note, tomorrow we are going to do a tender for open tender. That is for morning session and the afternoon session. Next week, we'll be conducting further trainings, and we'll keep on updating on which document we are going to be doing tenders beforehand. So kindly note, apart from the public holiday, for the next tomorrow and the whole of next week, we'll be conducting daily trainings on the various procurement methods and the various tender documents, so that you can be comfortable as procuring entities are floating tenders in the EGP system. At this point, I really want to thank you for being with us for those 2 hours. Thank you very much. Thank you for your question, and I hope that we have been able to assist you. But if you feel that you still need something that needs clarification, you can write to us an email. Our email address is support@egpkenya.go.ke. I repeat, if you feel that you have a question that needs to be handled outside these trainings, you can drop us an email, support@egpkenya.go.ke. You can also visit our office at Kisim Towers for further assistance. Thank you very much. I would like to close this training session for this time and invite you back. Kindly talk to your colleagues, to your friends, to your family members who are suppliers. They can log in the afternoon training session, so that we can all build capacity to enable you be able to manage tenders. So thank you very much. And I would like to close this training session for now. Asanteni sana for your patience and for being present, and also for your question. Thank you very much, and have a nice afternoon.